A billionaire discovers his maid sleeping on a freezing park bench every night. But when a little boy runs up and calls him daddy, his entire world shatters. Victor Kane thought he knew what struggle looked like. He'd built his fortune from almost nothing, turning a single failing hotel into a chain of luxury properties across the country. His name meant something in this city. His word moved markets. His decisions affected hundreds of lives. But on that cold February evening in Chicago, Victor realized he didn't know anything at all. It was nearly midnight when he stepped out of his flagship hotel, the Riverside Grand. The marble lobby behind him gleamed with wealth. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across floors, so polished you could see your reflection. Everything perfect. Everything controlled. But Victor felt suffocated. Another day of endless meetings. Another evening of fake smiles and careful words. He loosened his silk tie and decided to walk. Just walk. No destination. No plan. Just him and the winter air and maybe some peace. The streets were quiet at this hour. His expensive shoes clicked against the pavement as he wandered away from the bright lights of downtown. The buildings here were older, worn. The kind of neighborhood where real people lived real lives. That's when he saw it. A small park tucked between two apartment buildings. Swings creaking in the wind. A slide casting shadows in the dim light. And on a bench near the broken fountain, a shape that made his heart stop. A woman, curled into herself against the cold. Wearing what looked like a hotel uniform under a thin jacket that couldn't possibly keep her warm. Victor moved closer, his footsteps soft on the grass. And then he recognized her. Isabel Morris. One of his housekeepers. Always quiet. Always efficient. Always invisible until this moment. She was shivering. Even in sleep, her face showed exhaustion that went bone deep. "Ms. Morris," he called gently, not wanting to frighten her. No response. He touched her shoulder, very carefully. "Isabel." Her eyes flew open, wide with fear. She scrambled up so fast she nearly fell off the bench. "Mr. Kane." "Oh God. I'm so sorry. Please, I can explain. Please don't fire me." The terror in her voice cut through him like a blade. "What are you doing out here?" His voice came out softer than he intended. "It's freezing. And it's not safe." Isabel wrapped her arms around herself. She wouldn't look at him. I can't afford rent right now. But it's okay. I'm managing." "How long?" The silence stretched between them. 3 months, she finally whispered. Victor felt like someone had knocked the air from his lungs. 3 months? You've been sleeping out here for 3 months while working for me. "My brother and sister," Isabel said, her voice breaking. "They're in Jamaica. Orphans after our parents died. Daniel is 18, trying to finish school. Sophia is only 15. They have nobody else. I send them everything I can." Victor thought about the $10,000 he'd spent that morning on new furniture for the hotel gym. He thought about his penthouse apartment with its heated floors and distant city views. He thought about all the ways he'd been blind. And then, to his own surprise, he felt tears running down his face. He turned away quickly, but not before Isabel saw. "Mr. Kane," she said, and now her voice held concern instead of fear. "Please don't worry about me. I'm okay. Really." Her kindness, even now, even in her own desperation, broke something inside him. "No," he said firmly, wiping his eyes. "You're not okay. And I'm not leaving you here." He took off his expensive wool coat and wrapped it around her shoulders, ignoring her protests. "Come on. My car's back at the hotel. We're getting you somewhere warm." "Where are we going?" Isabel asked as she stood, swimming in his oversized coat. "Somewhere safe," Victor said. "We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. But tonight, you're getting a proper bed and hot food." They walked slowly back toward the hotel. Victor could feel Isabel's exhaustion in every step. And with each passing moment, he felt the weight of his own privilege crushing down on him. How many others had he failed to see? How many people worked for him, struggled for him, suffered in silence while he lived in his tower of glass and steel? His black Mercedes waited in the private garage. He opened the passenger door for her. "Mr. Kane, I don't want to be a burden." "You're not a burden," he said firmly. "You're a human being who deserves better than this. Please, let me help." The car's warmth enveloped them. Isabel fought to keep her eyes open, clutching his coat like a lifeline. In the rearview mirror, Victor caught a glimpse of her reflection. Exhausted, vulnerable, but somehow still maintaining a dignity that humbled him. "Thank you," she whispered, so quietly he almost missed it. Victor gripped the steering wheel, his throat tight. In all his years of building his empire, he'd never felt so ashamed and so determined at the same time. This woman had been sleeping on a bench in the shadow of his luxury hotel. And he'd never known. But now he did. And everything was going to change. Victor's mansion sat on the north side of the city, all glass and stone and carefully landscaped gardens. As he guided an exhausted Isabel through the front door, the space suddenly felt too big. Too empty. Too much. "Grace," he called to his night housekeeper. "Please prepare the guest suite. And bring up some warm food." Isabel stood swaying in the massive foyer. She looked up at the chandelier, at the sweeping staircase, at the art on the walls. "This is too much," she said weakly. "You really don't have to." "This is exactly enough," Victor interrupted gently. "Come on." The guest suite was decorated in soft blues and creams. A king-sized bed with more pillows than anyone needed. A sitting area with comfortable chairs. An attached bathroom with heated floors. Isabel stopped in the doorway, tears filling her eyes. Grace appeared with a tray of soup, sandwiches, and tea. She took one look at Isabel and immediately added extra blankets to her armload. "Get some rest," Victor said. "Grace will take care of you. We'll talk in the morning." He left her there and retreated to his study. Sleep wouldn't come tonight. Instead, he pulled up Isabel's employee file on his computer. The hours passed. Dawn crept across the sky outside his window. Victor read every performance review, every note, every detail of her 3 years working for him. Perfect attendance. Never late. Never complained. Never caused problems. The kind of employee who was easy to overlook. Reliable. Hardworking. Invisible. Victor closed his eyes, shame washing over him again. "Good morning." He looked up to find Isabel in the doorway. She'd showered and changed into clothes Grace must have found for her. She looked better, but still so tired. "Did you sleep well?" Victor asked. "Yes. Thank you." She twisted her hands together. "Mr. Kane, I should really go. I have responsibilities." "Please join me for breakfast first," Victor said, standing. "Grace makes incredible pancakes. I can smell them from here." In the kitchen, Grace had indeed prepared a feast. She set an extra-large portion in front of Isabel without a word, just a knowing look. "I can't stay," Isabel tried again, even as she stared hungrily at the food. "You have a responsibility to take care of yourself too," Victor said. "Please, stay until we figure out a real solution." The doorbell's sharp chime cut through the morning quiet. Grace went to answer it, and moments later, small footsteps came running through the house. A little boy burst into the kitchen. Maybe 6 years old, backpack bouncing as he ran straight for Isabel. "Mama," he cried. Isabel was already out of her chair, arms open wide. "Baby, Mrs. Torres said you weren't at her house this morning, and I was scared." "Shuh, I'm right here. Everything's okay." Victor stood frozen, watching. The boy had Isabel's warm brown eyes, her curly black hair. And when he turned to look at Victor, there was something else there too. Something in the shape of his face. The way he held his head. Their eyes met across the kitchen. And Victor felt the world tilt. "Grace told Mrs. Torres to send him here," the housekeeper explained from the doorway. "I hope that's all right, Mr. Kane." But Victor barely heard her. He couldn't look away from the child clinging to his mother's shirt. The boy wasn't afraid. Just curious, studying Victor with an intensity that felt familiar. "This is Noah," Isabel said quietly, her voice trembling. Noah looked between the adults. Then, in a voice clear as a bell, he said, "Mommy says you're my daddy." The words hung in the air like smoke. Victor felt his knees go weak. He stared at Noah. At Isabel, who had covered her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry," she choked out. "This isn't how I wanted you to find out. I was going to explain everything. I swear." Grace stepped forward smoothly. "Noah, sweetheart, would you like to watch some cartoons? I just made fresh cookies." The boy looked uncertain, sensing the tension without understanding it. "Can I, Mommy?" Isabel nodded, wiping her eyes. "Go ahead, baby." As Grace led Noah away, his excited chatter about cookies faded down the hallway. Cartoon music soon drifted from the family room. Victor still hadn't moved. His hands gripped the edge of the table, so hard his knuckles turned white. "Explain," he managed. "Please." Isabel took a shaking breath. "Do you remember the Phoenix Hotel? 7 years ago? You were just starting out. The hotel was one of your first properties." Victor nodded slowly. The Phoenix had been his second acquisition. A struggling property he'd transformed. "I worked there as a housekeeper," Isabel continued. "One night, a drunk guest cornered me in a hallway. You stopped him. You made sure I was okay. You walked me to my car. The memory surfaced. The thunderstorm. The woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. We talked for hours in the parking lot, Isabel said softly. You told me about your dreams. I told you about my brother and sister back in Jamaica, how I was trying to help them after our parents died. The storm, Victor whispered. It started pouring and we ran inside. Yes. Tears streamed down Isabel's face. We ended up in one of the empty rooms. It was just one night, but it was special. You were so kind, so gentle. The next morning you had an early flight. You left me your card. But you never called, Victor said. I tried. Isabel's voice broke. When I found out I was pregnant 2 months later, I tried everything. I called the hotel. Left messages with your assistant. I wrote letters. She was crying hard now. But Patricia Henderson, she was the head of housekeeping. She intercepted everything. She said I was trying to trap you. That I'd ruin your future. She fired me. Threatened to make sure I never worked in hospitality again if I kept trying to contact you. Victor stood abruptly, pacing. Patricia Henderson. I fired her 2 years ago for stealing money. His voice shook with rage. She kept my son from me for 7 years? I'm so sorry, Isabel whispered. After she fired me, I was desperate. Pregnant. My brother and sister needed help. No one would hire me with the references she gave. I moved to different cities. Took whatever work I could find. She looked down at her hands. When I saw your job posting here last year, I applied under my married name. Morris, from a brief marriage that didn't work out. I thought, maybe working here, I could find the right moment to tell you about Noah. 7 years, Victor said hoarsely. I miss 7 years. His first words. His first steps. Everything. He's so much like you, Isabel said softly. He's smart. He's kind. He notices everything. He loves building things with blocks. And when he smiles. I need time, Victor interrupted, his voice raw. I need to think. Please. Stay here. Both of you. I need time. He walked toward the stairs, each step heavy. Isabel watched him go, her heart breaking. From the family room, Noah's laughter rang out at something on TV. Innocent. Unaware that his simple words had just changed everything. The sun was setting when Victor finally came back downstairs. He found Isabel on the couch, absently watching Noah play with wooden blocks on the carpet. The boy had built an impressive tower, his small face serious with concentration. It's remarkable, Victor said quietly. Isabel jumped, not having heard him approach. He really does love building, she said. Victor lowered himself into a chair across from them. His eyes were red. His tie was gone. He looked like he'd aged years in a single day. Can we talk? He asked gently. I want to know everything. About Noah. About your life. Everything. Isabel glanced at Noah to make sure he was absorbed in his play. Where should I start? Anywhere. Just help me understand. She twisted her hands in her lap. After Patricia fired me, I was 3 months pregnant. I moved to Tucson. Found work as a waitress, but the morning sickness was terrible. I lost that job. Then another. Her voice grew thick. I was sleeping in my car, trying to save every penny for the baby and still send money to Daniel and Sophia. How old were they? Victor asked. 13 and 10. Our aunt was taking care of them, but she was struggling financially. I couldn't let them end up in foster care. So you sacrificed everything, Victor said quietly. Isabel shrugged. I found a women's shelter when I was 7 months along. They helped me apply for benefits. Got me temporary housing. Noah was born there. 6 pounds, 2 ounces. Perfect in every way. Victor's eyes drifted to his son. What happened after he was born? I worked whatever jobs I could find. Cleaning houses. Night shifts at convenience stores. Anything that would let me bring him along or work while he slept. We moved constantly. Cheap motels. Shelters when rent money had to go to Daniel and Sophia instead. Her voice caught. I should have tried harder to tell you. I should have found a way. No, Victor said firmly. Don't apologize. You did try. Patricia is the one who should be sorry. I should have noticed when you disappeared from the Phoenix. I should have asked questions. You were building your company, Isabel said softly. It was just one night. You had no reason to think. It wasn't just one night to me, Victor admitted. I thought about you often. Wondered why you never called. I convinced myself I'd misread everything. He ran a hand through his hair. How did you end up here? Working at the Riverside Grand. We were in Denver last year when I saw the job posting. The pay was better than anything else I could find. And there was something right about coming full circle, I suppose. I thought maybe it was time Noah knew his father. I just couldn't find the right moment to tell you. Until our son did it for you, Victor said, a hint of warmth in his voice. Isabel looked at Noah, who was yawning now. He's always been observant. He saw your picture in the hotel lobby and noticed the resemblance himself. He looks exhausted, Victor observed. It's been quite a day. Let me help, Victor offered, standing. Please. Together they got Noah ready for bed. Victor hung back, watching as Isabel helped their son brush his teeth and put on pajamas. Memorizing every detail of this routine he'd missed for 7 years. When Noah was tucked in, Victor approached the bed hesitantly. May I? Isabel nodded, moving aside. Victor sat on the edge of the bed, reaching out carefully to smooth Noah's dark hair. Good night, son, he whispered. Night, Daddy, Noah mumbled, already half asleep. The simple words sent a jolt through Victor's heart. Once Noah was sleeping, they stepped into the hallway. I want you both to stay here, Victor said. Not just tonight. Until you're on your feet properly. There's plenty of room. You'll be safe. Thank you, Isabel whispered. We can talk more tomorrow, Victor said. About arrangements. About making this work somehow. Isabel nodded and turned toward the guest suite. I just need some air first. Clear my head. Victor watched her step onto the balcony, about to head to his own room. Then he heard her pull out her phone. He didn't mean to eavesdrop. But her next words stopped him cold. I know, Rosa, she whispered into the phone. But I can't tell him about the diagnosis yet. He's already dealing with so much. Victor froze in the hallway. His heart started pounding. The dizzy spells are getting worse, Isabel continued. Today I nearly collapsed while making beds. His hands clenched. I know I should start the treatments. But I can't lose those work hours. Daniel and Sophia's tuition is due. They're so close to finishing their degrees. Victor couldn't breathe. The doctor said waiting is dangerous. But what choice do I have? They have no one else. Unable to stand still, Victor stepped onto the balcony. Isabel whirled around, nearly dropping her phone. Rosa, I have to go, she said quickly. I'll call tomorrow. The silence stretched between them. The night air was cool. Isabel wrapped her arms around herself. How much did you hear? She finally asked. Enough. Victor's voice was gentle but firm. How long have you been sick? Isabel's shoulders slumped. The symptoms started about 8 months ago. Fatigue. Dizziness. Chest pain. I ignored it as long as I could. Then I fainted at work last month. Rosa covered for me. Helped me get to a free clinic. She trailed off. And, Victor prompted, though dread was building in his chest. It's my heart, Isabel whispered. There's a problem with one of the valves. It's getting worse. Without surgery. She couldn't finish. But there are treatments, Victor said. Surgery that could help. The cost, Isabel's voice broke. Even with insurance. The copays. The time off work. I can't do that to Daniel and Sophia. What about Noah? Victor asked quietly. Isn't he counting on you too? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Of course he is. Don't you think that keeps me awake every night? But I promised our parents I'd take care of Daniel and Sophia. I can't break that promise. Victor moved closer. Isabel, you're not alone anymore. Let me help. No, she pulled away. I won't take your money. You don't owe me anything. This isn't about owing anyone, Victor insisted. This is about saving your life. For Noah. For your brother and sister. For yourself. Please. Isabel's voice was barely audible. Please don't try to fix this. I've managed on my own this long. And look where it's gotten you, Victor said, more sharply than he intended. He softened his tone. I'm sorry. But Isabel, sleeping on park benches while you're this sick? What if something had happened to you out there? I had no choice. You do now. Victor's voice was firm. I know you're proud. I respect that. But this isn't just about you anymore. Our son needs his mother. Your siblings need their sister. And I. He paused, surprised by the depth of emotion in his voice. I need you to live. Isabel looked up at him, startled. Just promise me you'll think about it, he said quietly. That's all I'm asking. After a long moment, she nodded. I'll think about it. Thank you. Get some rest. Victor waited until she went inside before heading to his office. His hands were shaking as he pulled out his phone. Within minutes, his assistant was sending him everything available on cardiac valve disorders and the top treatment centers in the country. The hours crawled by. Jackson sat surrounded by medical information, papers scattered across his desk. The words blurred. Mortality rates. Surgical risks. Recovery times. But one thing became clear. Without treatment, Isabel's condition would only get worse. His gaze drifted to a photo of Noah he'd taken earlier. The boy's bright smile. His trusting eyes. The thought of that smile dimming, of Noah losing his mother when Victor had only just found them both, it was unbearable. "I won't let it happen," he whispered into the darkness. "I don't care what it takes." Outside his window, dawn was breaking over the city. Victor barely noticed. His entire world had narrowed to one purpose: saving the mother of his child. The woman who had sacrificed everything for others until she had nothing left. That was the one sacrifice he would not allow her to make. If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to subscribe and hit that like button. Your support helps these stories reach others who need to hear them. Every like, every share, every subscription means this message of hope and second chances can touch more lives. Thank you for being part of this community. Now let's continue. Morning sunlight crept through Victor's office windows. He'd been awake all night, eyes burning from staring at medical journals and treatment protocols. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. A soft knock made him look up. "Daddy." The word still felt new. Precious. Noah stood in the doorway, clutching a bright red toy truck, his rocket print pajamas rumpled from sleep. "Hey, buddy," Victor said, his exhaustion melting away. "You're up early." Noah padded into the office. "Will you play trucks with me?" "Mommy's still sleeping." Victor glanced at his computer screen, then back at his son's hopeful face. The choice was easy. "Of course." He moved to sit on the floor. "Show me how it works." Noah's whole face lit up as he scrambled to sit beside Victor. "This is my favorite truck. His name is Red Lightning. He's super fast." For the next hour, Victor found himself completely lost in his son's world. Rescue missions. Race tracks made from books. Elaborate stories about trucks saving the day. And now they have to jump over the canyon, Noah declared, pointing to the space between two fallen books. "That looks dangerous," Victor said, making his truck rev dramatically. "Are you sure Blue Thunder can make it?" Noah giggled. He can do anything with Red Lightning's help. Their engine noises and laughter filled the office. Victor couldn't remember the last time he'd just played. But watching Noah's joy made him wish he'd done it sooner. "There you are," a soft voice said. Lioness stood in the doorway, wearing a borrowed robe. Her face showed concern. "Mommy, look. Daddy and I are having truck adventures." Noah ran to show her his toys. Victor noticed how Isabel steadied herself against the doorframe. How pale she looked. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," she said warmly. "But it's time for breakfast. Go wash up while I talk to your daddy." After Noah scampered off, Isabel stepped into the office. Her eyes took in the medical papers scattered everywhere. "You didn't sleep," she said quietly. "Neither did you, I'm guessing," Victor replied gently. She wrapped her arms around herself. "Victor, about last night." "We don't have to talk about it right now," he interrupted softly. "Let's just have breakfast. Together. As a family." The word hung between them. Isabel's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. But she nodded. In the kitchen, Grace had prepared an incredible spread. Fresh fruit. Warm muffins. Scrambled eggs. Crispy bacon. Noah bounced in his seat, lining his trucks up beside his plate. And then Red Lightning did the biggest jump ever. "Is that so?" Grace said, winking at Victor. "Sounds like your daddy is quite the truck driver. He does all the best voices," Noah declared proudly. Victor caught Isabel watching him with an unreadable expression. When their eyes met, she quickly looked away. Grace's hand rested gently on Isabel's shoulder as she refilled her coffee. "Sometimes, dear," she said quietly, "the bravest thing we can do is accept help when it's offered with love." Isabel's eyes welled up again. She busied herself wiping Noah's syrupy face. Later, while Noah chattered about more truck adventures, Victor checked his phone discreetly. His assistant had been working through the night too. Consultations with top cardiac specialists. A financial plan that would cover not only Isabel's medical care, but continued support for her siblings. His phone vibrated. He excused himself to take the call in the hallway. "Mr. Kane," a professional voice greeted him. "This is Dr. Rachel Foster's office at Boston Medical Center. We've received your urgent inquiry." Victor's heart raced. "Yes. Thank you for calling back so quickly. Dr. Foster has reviewed the preliminary information. Given the severity, She's willing to see Ms. Morris this Thursday morning. However, the voice became gentler. We'll need the patient's consent and presence, of course. Victor watched through the doorway as Isabel helped Noah stack his empty plate. Her movements careful, hiding her weakness. I understand, he said quietly. I'll make sure she's there. 3 days. He had 3 days to convince Isabel to accept help that could save her life. Morning became a new routine that felt surprisingly natural. Each day started with helping Noah get ready for school. Small moments that brought joy and sharp awareness of everything Victor had missed. Here, buddy, let me help with those shoelaces, Victor offered, kneeling in the foyer. Noah's tongue poked out in concentration. Like bunny ears? Exactly like that. Pride bloomed across Noah's face when the laces finally held. From the kitchen doorway, Isabel watched them. Her expression was a complex mixture of happiness and something that looked like grief. After school came homework time. Victor had set up a comfortable desk in the library. Today, first-grade math. 7 + 3 equals. Victor prompted gently. Noah counted on his fingers. 10. You're getting so good at this, Victor praised, high-fiving him. Noah practically glowed under the attention. Isabel often paused to watch them, thinking they couldn't see her. But Victor noticed how she'd lean against doorframes for support more frequently. How her breathing sometimes became labored after climbing stairs. Each sign of her failing health felt like a knife in his chest. Bedtime became Victor's favorite part. Noah would choose a story, usually insisting on just one more, until Isabel gently enforced limits. Tonight, Where the Wild Things Are. Noah snuggled between them on his bed as Victor read with different voices for each character. The wild things roared their terrible roars, Victor growled playfully. Noah giggled and burrowed closer. Daddy does the best monster voices. Isabel's eyes met Victor's over their son's head. The weight of everything unsaid hung heavy between them. After Noah fell asleep, Victor found Isabel in the garden. She was wrapped in a shawl against the evening chill, looking ethereal in the fading light. We need to talk, he said softly, joining her on the stone bench. About what? Isabel asked, though her tense shoulders suggested she knew. Victor took a deep breath. I've scheduled an appointment with Dr. Rachel Foster at Boston Medical Center. She's one of the best cardiac specialists in the country. She's willing to see you this Thursday. Isabel stood abruptly, swaying before catching her balance. You had no right, she whispered fiercely. My medical decisions are my own. Isabel, please. I've managed just fine on my own, she insisted, but her voice trembled. It's not charity, Victor said gently. It's family taking care of family. Whether you accept me as part of your life or not, Noah is my son. He needs his mother healthy and strong. Grace's voice came from the garden path. If I may, she said, stepping forward with determination. I've watched you both dancing around this issue for days. Isabel, your pride is admirable. But it won't keep Noah from losing his mother. Your siblings will be taken care of, Victor assured her. I've already set up a trust fund that will continue supporting their education regardless of what you decide about treatment. I don't know how to accept this, Isabel whispered. I've been responsible for everyone for so long. Grace sat beside her, taking her hands firmly. And now it's time to let someone be responsible for you. There's no weakness in that. Only wisdom. Hours passed as they talked in the darkening garden. Fears. Hopes. Practical arrangements. Finally, as the moon rose high, Isabel nodded slowly. Okay, I'll go to the appointment. Relief flooded Victor's chest. Mommy. Daddy. They turned to find Noah in his pajamas, clutching his stuffed elephant. I had a bad dream. Come here, sweetheart. Isabel opened her arms. How about we watch a movie? Victor suggested. Something fun and silly. In the cozy media room, they settled onto the plush sofa. Grace brought blankets and hot chocolate. Noah chose Toy Story, but was asleep before the first scene ended, sprawled across both their laps. Victor watched the soft light from the screen play across his son's peaceful face. Then looked at Isabel, who was absently stroking Noah's hair. Her guard was down. He could see both her fear and her hope plainly written in her expression. On screen, animated toys embarked on their adventure. But the real story was here on this couch. A family piecing itself together. Fighting for more time. Learning to trust in love's ability to heal what was broken. The morning dawned clear as Victor's car pulled up to the mansion's entrance. Isabel stood waiting in a new wool coat he'd insisted on buying. Her face was pale but determined. Grace held Noah's hand. The little boy looked uncertain about his mother leaving. Be good for Grace, sweetheart. Isabel knelt to hug him tight. We'll be back before dinner. Promise? Noah's bottom lip trembled. I promise. She kissed his forehead. Grace smiled warmly. We're going to make paper airplanes and paint them all different colors. Then we'll see which ones fly the farthest. Noah's eyes lit up despite his worry. Can we make a red one? Of course we can. The drive to Boston Medical Center was quiet. Isabel stared out the window at passing scenery. Victor could see her hands trembling where they were clasped in her lap. Dr. Foster is the best in her field, he said softly. Whatever we learn today, we'll handle it together. Isabel nodded but didn't speak. The hospital's cardiac wing was pristine and modern. Dr. Rachel Foster's office reflected her reputation. Professional but welcoming. Degrees from top schools alongside children's artwork from grateful patients. Dr. Foster herself was a petite woman in her 50s with kind eyes and quiet authority. She reviewed Isabel's records with careful attention before beginning her examination. Your previous doctor was right to be concerned, she finally said. The heart irregularities we're seeing are serious. But with proper treatment, they're manageable. Isabel's fingers twisted in her lap. How serious? Your heart is struggling to maintain proper rhythm and blood flow. The combination of prolonged stress, poor nutrition, and lack of rest has taken a significant toll. Dr. Foster's voice was gentle but frank. Without intervention, you're at high risk for heart failure within months. Victor felt his own heart stutter. He reached for Isabel's hand. This time she didn't pull away. What exactly does treatment entail? He asked, forcing his voice steady. Dr. Foster outlined a comprehensive plan. Medication to regulate heart rhythm, regular monitoring, proper nutrition, and most importantly, rest. You'll need to stop working, at least for the first few months, she explained. Your body needs time to heal. But my family, Isabel began. Will be taken care of, Victor interrupted firmly. That's not something you need to worry about anymore. Dr. Foster looked between them with understanding. The stress of financial worry can literally be fatal in cases like yours, Ms. Morris. If Mr. Kane is offering support, I strongly urge you to accept it. Your children need you healthy more than they need you to work yourself to death. The drive home was even quieter. Victor could practically hear Isabel's thoughts churning. Finally, as they passed the city limits, she spoke. I don't know how to do this. How to just stop. To let someone else carry the weight. Victor pulled the car over and turned to face her fully. Isabel, look at me. She met his eyes. You're not becoming a burden. You're accepting help so you can live to see Noah grow up. That's not weakness. It's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I've been responsible for everyone else for so long. I don't know how to put myself first. Then let me help you learn, Victor said softly. Let me show you what it feels like to be cared for the way you've cared for others. For several long moments, Isabel just looked at him, searching his face. Whatever she saw there must have reassured her. Okay, she whispered. I'll start the treatment next week. And you'll let me handle the costs? All of them. Another pause. Then, yes. Victor squeezed her hand before pulling back onto the road. They found Noah and Grace in the garden, surrounded by dozens of paper airplanes in every color. The red one had special decorations clearly meant for his father. Mommy, Daddy, look how far they fly. Noah ran to them. As they spent the next hour launching paper aircraft into the autumn air, Victor watched Isabel laugh at their son's enthusiasm. There was still fear in her eyes when she thought no one was looking. But there was also something new. A fragile hope just beginning to take root. The weekend arrived with golden autumn sunshine. Victor had spent the morning quietly organizing a simple family outing. I thought we might head to the community center today, Victor suggested at breakfast. They have a great basketball court. And I heard someone mention wanting to learn how to shoot hoops. Noah's eyes lit up. Really? Can we go now? Isabel smiled at their son's enthusiasm, but hesitated. Are you sure? You must have work. Nothing that can't wait, Victor assured her. Besides, I've missed out on 7 years of teaching this guy basketball. We've got catching up to do. The community center buzzed with weekend activity. Children's laughter echoed from the gymnasium, where families were playing casual games. Isabel found a spot on the bleachers while Victor helped Noah pick out a properly sized ball. Okay, buddy, Victor said, kneeling to Noah's level. First thing to remember is how to bounce the ball with control. Like this. He demonstrated a basic dribble. Noah's first attempt sent the ball scattering. But his determination never wavered. Victor patiently retrieved it each time, offering gentle encouragement. From the bleachers, Isabel watched their interactions with growing warmth. Soon other children Noah's age waved him over to join their game. Victor gave him an encouraging nod, and Noah ran to join them. "He's a natural," Victor said, climbing up to sit beside Isabel. "Look how quickly he's picking it up." They watched as Noah participated in a makeshift game. His face glowed with joy every time the ball went through the net. "Daddy," Noah called out suddenly. "Did you see that shot?" Victor's breath caught. Tears welled in his eyes before he could stop them. Isabel had seen his reaction. Her own eyes grew misty. "I saw it, buddy," Victor called back, his voice thick. "That was amazing." Isabel reached over and squeezed his hand. He's been wanting to say that for days. I could see it in his eyes. He was just waiting until it felt natural. Victor squeezed back, overwhelmed. As lunchtime approached, delicious aromas drifted from food trucks outside. Victor insisted on treating everyone, and they found a sunny spot at a picnic table. "What would you like, buddy?" Victor asked. Noah's eyes grew wide at all the options. "Can I have a hot dog and fries?" "Of course." They gathered their food and settled at the table. Noah chattered excitedly about his basketball game between bites. "What do you want to be when you grow up, Noah?" Victor asked. Noah considered seriously while munching a fry. "Maybe a doctor. Or a basketball player. Or both." "Dr. Noah Morris, MVP," Isabel teased, ruffling his hair. "Whatever you want to be," Victor promised, his voice thick with emotion. "We'll help you get there. Sky's the limit, buddy." They spent the afternoon talking about Noah's dreams, his favorite subjects, all the things he wanted to learn. With each passing hour, Isabel found herself relaxing more, allowing herself to imagine a future where they could be a real family. As the sun began to set, they made their way home. Noah was still buzzing with energy, demonstrating his new basketball moves between bites of dinner. "Can we go back tomorrow?" he asked hopefully. "Maybe next weekend," Isabel answered. "We need to rest tomorrow." After dinner, while Isabel helped Noah get ready for bed, Victor slipped into his study. He began making quiet calls, planning something special for Isabel's upcoming birthday. Through the open door, he could hear Noah's laughter as Isabel read him a bedtime story. The sound filled his heart with contentment he'd never known. Whatever challenges lay ahead with Isabel's treatment, moments like today reminded him what they were fighting for. The chance to be a family, to make up for lost time, to create new memories together. Victor moved through the mansion with quiet determination. Staff members carried streamers and soft fairy lights. The dining room was transforming into something magical. "Grace, is everything ready for the video call?" Victor asked, adjusting a banner that read "Happy Birthday, Isabel" in elegant script. Grace nodded. "Yes, Mr. Kane. I've tested the connection 3 times. Daniel and Sophia are standing by." Victor checked his watch. In the kitchen, the chef was finishing a chocolate cake. Noah had revealed it was his mother's favorite. The little boy had spent the morning creating a special card, his tiny fingers covered in glitter and paint. "Daddy, is it time yet?" Noah whispered loudly, peeking around the doorframe. "Almost, buddy. Remember, Grace is going to bring Mommy down in 15 minutes. Are you ready with your card?" Noah nodded enthusiastically, clutching the handmade creation. Glitter sprinkled onto the floor. The card was covered in hearts, stars, and a carefully drawn picture of their family. 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright sun. "Places everyone," Grace announced softly. "I just texted upstairs. Isabel's finished her shower. I told her we needed her help with something." The staff dimmed the lights, leaving only the warm glow of fairy lights and strategically placed lamps. Victor positioned himself near the laptop. Noah bounced on his toes beside him. They heard footsteps in the hallway. "Grace!" Isabel's voice called. "What did you need help with?" The doors opened. Isabel stepped into the dining room and froze. Her hand flew to her mouth as she took in the scene. The decorations. The cake. The faces of loved ones beaming at her. "Surprise!" Noah shouted, running to hug her legs. "Happy birthday, Mommy." Tears welled in Isabel's eyes as she lifted her son. "Oh, sweetheart. I can't believe this." "There's more," Victor said softly, pressing a button on the laptop. The screen came to life, revealing Daniel and Sophia. "Happy birthday, big sister," they called in unison. Isabel's legs wobbled. Victor quickly guided her to a chair. She reached out to touch the screen, tears flowing freely now. "Daniel. Sophia. How?" Victor arranged everything, Sophia explained, her own eyes glistening. We've been planning this for days. You deserve to be celebrated, Daniel added warmly. Noah climbed onto his mother's lap, proudly presenting his card. Look what I made you. That's you and me and Daddy, and we're all happy. Isabel hugged her son close, examining every detail through her tears. It's beautiful, baby. The most beautiful card I've ever seen. Victor cleared his throat. He hadn't planned a speech. But looking at Isabel's face, illuminated by fairy lights and joy, the words came naturally. Isabel, he began, his voice thick. You are the strongest person I've ever known. You faced impossible challenges with grace and dignity, always putting others before yourself. You've raised an incredible son, supported your siblings, and never once complained. He moved closer, taking her free hand in his. But you're not alone anymore. From this day forward, your struggles are our struggles. Your joy is our joy. You've given so much love to others. Now it's time for you to receive that love in return. Isabel squeezed his hand, unable to speak through her tears. On the screen, Daniel and Sophia were also crying, nodding in agreement. The evening unfolded like a dream. They shared cake and stories. Daniel and Sophia told embarrassing tales from Isabel's childhood that had everyone laughing. Noah insisted on showing his aunt and uncle his basketball moves, performing them right there in the dining room. The staff had prepared all of Isabel's favorite foods. Each bite unlocked another happy memory. For hours they celebrated not just her birthday, but the love that had brought them all together. As the evening wound down, and the video call ended with promises to talk again soon, Noah had fallen asleep on a small sofa, clutching a piece of birthday cake. Isabel slipped out onto the balcony. Victor followed, carrying 2 cups of tea. Thank you, she whispered as he handed her a cup. I can't remember the last time I felt this happy. The night air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of blooming jasmine from the garden below. You've given me back my family, Isabel said softly. Not just Daniel and Sophia, but everything. A home. Hope. I don't know how to thank you. Victor turned to face her. You don't need to thank me. Having you and Noah in my life is the greatest gift I could have asked for. The morning sun filtered through the mansion's windows as Isabel prepared for her first treatment. Her hands trembled slightly as she buttoned her cardigan, but she forced a brave smile when Noah appeared in her doorway. Mommy has to go to the doctor today, sweetheart, she explained, kneeling to hug him. Will you feel better after? Noah asked worriedly. That's the plan, Victor answered from the doorway. Your mom is going to get stronger every day. Grace appeared behind them. We're going to make cookies while your mama's gone. And maybe paint some pictures to surprise her. The drive to the clinic was quiet. Isabel stared out the window while Victor occasionally squeezed her hand. The treatment center was modern and welcoming. Soft music playing. Kind-faced nurses who guided them through the initial procedures. You're doing great, Victor whispered as they set up her for. Isabel nodded, trying to focus on breathing steadily. The first few days followed a similar pattern. Victor worked remotely from his laptop while Isabel received treatment. They'd return home to find Noah excited to show them his latest artwork. On Wednesday morning, everything changed. Isabel had just finished her treatment and was walking down the clinic hallway toward Victor, who was returning from a coffee run. She looked pale but had insisted she felt fine. Suddenly, her steps faltered. Isabel, Victor called, noticing her sway. She tried to respond, but the words wouldn't come. The world tilted sideways. She crumpled to the floor before Victor could reach her. Help, he shouted, dropping the coffee cups. We need help here. Medical staff swarmed around them. Victor watched helplessly as they lifted Isabel onto a gurney, her face ashen and still. Time stretched endlessly as he waited outside the examination room, his heart pounding with fear. When the doctor finally emerged, his expression was grave. Mr. Kane, we need to talk about Ms. Morris's condition. They moved to a private consultation room. The combination of prolonged homelessness, malnutrition, and untreated symptoms has significantly weakened her system, the doctor explained. Her body is struggling to handle the standard treatment protocol. Victor ran his hands through his hair. What can we do? We'll need to adjust her treatment plan, possibly extend the duration. But most importantly, she needs complete rest and proper nutrition. Any additional stress could be dangerous. When they finally allowed Victor to see her, Isabel was sitting up in bed, looking small and fragile against the white sheets. The moment she saw him, her face crumpled. I can't do this. I can't put Noah through this. You're not putting him through anything, Victor insisted. We're going to fight this together. But Isabel shook her head, tears streaming. You don't understand. I watched my mother die when I was young. The way it changed Daniel and Sophia. I can't do that to my son. I won't let him watch me fade away. That's not going to happen, Victor argued. But he could see the fear had taken hold. They returned to the mansion that evening. Isabel hugged Noah extra tight at bedtime, reading him 3 stories instead of 1. Later that night, while the house was quiet and dark, Isabel slipped from her bed. With trembling hands, she packed a small bag and wrote a note, tears falling onto the paper. Please don't look for me, she wrote. Take care of our son. Let him remember me strong and whole, not sick and dying. I love you both too much to put you through this pain. She placed the note on Victor's desk, then crept into Noah's room one last time, pressing a gentle kiss to his forehead. Goodbye, my sweet boy, she whispered. The security system let her come and go freely. No alarms sounded as she slipped out the front door into the cool night air. She paused on the driveway, looking back at the warm lights. Then turned away, disappearing into the darkness before her courage could fail. The first rays of dawn filtered through the mansion's windows when Victor heard tiny footsteps. Noah appeared in his office doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Is Mommy making breakfast? I'm hungry. Victor glanced up from his laptop. Let's go find her, buddy. But Isabel wasn't in the kitchen. She wasn't in her room either. Her bed hadn't been slept in. That's when Victor spotted the folded paper on his desk. Why don't you help Grace start breakfast? He suggested to Noah, keeping his voice steady. I'll be right there. Once Noah was safely in the kitchen, Victor unfolded the note with trembling hands. As he read Isabel's words, his heart seemed to stop beating. The paper shook in his grip. No, 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 he whispered, immediately pulling out his phone. Within minutes, the household was in quiet panic. Security teams reviewed camera footage. Staff members checked every room. Grace kept Noah occupied with pancake making, though the boy's worried glances showed he sensed something wrong. Victor finally had to face his son. Kneeling to Noah's level in the kitchen, he took the boy's small hands. Your mom needed some time alone this morning. But I promise you, I'm going to find her and bring her home. Is it because she's sick? Noah asked in a small voice. Victor's throat tightened. Yes, buddy. She's scared about being sick. But we're not going to let her be alone. We're family now. After making sure Noah was settled with Grace, Victor grabbed his coat and car keys. The morning air was crisp as Victor began retracing the paths Isabel once walked. He checked every bench, every bus stop, every sheltered doorway. Hours passed as he drove slowly through neighborhoods, walked through parks, questioned shop owners. His phone buzzed constantly with updates from security teams. But none had found her. The sun climbed higher, then began its slow descent toward evening. Victor's desperation grew. Please, he whispered. Please let me find her. As sunset approached, Victor found himself driving past the park where he'd first discovered her that fateful night. Something made him slow down, then stop completely. The old lamppost was already flickering to life in the growing dusk. And there, hunched on that same cold bench, was a familiar figure. His heart pounded as he parked. Isabel hadn't moved, didn't seem to notice his approach. She was wearing the same thin coat from that first night, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Victor walked toward her silently. The playground equipment cast long shadows. The flickering lamppost created an eerie dance of light across Isabel's face. She looked so small, so vulnerable, yet he could see the rigid set of her shoulders, the determination to sacrifice herself for those she loved. He was close enough now to hear her quiet breathing, to see the slight tremor in her hands. Still, she hadn't looked up. Victor paused before the bench, his heart breaking. Slowly, carefully, he knelt beside her. Isabel, he said softly. She flinched but didn't run. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Please just go, Victor. I'm only making everything worse. I'm not going anywhere without you, he replied firmly, though his voice remained gentle. And you're not making anything worse. Look at what I've done, she choked out. I've disrupted your life. I've upset Noah. I'm sick and getting sicker. I can't even work to help my siblings. I'm nothing but a burden. Victor carefully reached out and placed his hand over hers. It was ice cold. You're wrong, he said. So wrong. When she tried to pull away, he gently caught her chin, turning her face toward his. Her eyes were full of pain and fear. Real love, he said slowly, making sure each word reached her, means standing together through the hard times. It means facing the suffering side by side, not running from it. And that's what I want to do with you, Isabel. Stand beside you. Fight with you. Not watch you try to carry everything alone. A sob escaped her throat. I don't know how to let people help me. I don't know how to be loved like this. What if I just disappoint everyone? What if I can't get better? Stop, Victor said softly, moving to sit beside her. You're not disappointing anyone. You're fighting so hard. You're so incredibly strong. But you don't have to fight alone anymore. Isabel's composure crumbled. I'm so scared. I'm terrified of being loved only to lose it all. Of Noah watching me get sicker. Of leaving him alone. Victor wrapped his arm around her shoulders, drawing her closer. Listen to me. You are not a burden. You're a blessing. You and Noah have brought more meaning to my life than I found in years of success. You've taught me what really matters. And I'm not letting you face any of this alone. She collapsed against him, her body shaking with sobs. Years of carried weight seemed to pour out of her. Victor held her close, one hand stroking her hair. I've got you. I've got you now. The temperature was dropping rapidly. Victor felt Isabel shiver and immediately shrugged out of his warm coat, wrapping it around her shoulders. Come on, he said softly. Let's get you home. Noah is waiting. Isabel lifted her head, looking uncertain. Home. Yes, home, Victor assured her. Where you belong. With your family. He stood and held out his hand. After a moment's hesitation, she placed her smaller hand in his. He helped her to her feet. She swayed, exhausted, and he steadied her with an arm around her waist. As they walked slowly toward his car, tiny white flakes began drifting down from the dark sky. Isabel looked up in wonder as the first snowfall swirled around them. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Perfect timing, Victor said, opening the passenger door. Let's get you somewhere warm. Inside the car, he turned up the heat and glanced at Isabel, who had pulled his coat tighter around herself. The snowflakes danced in the beams of the headlights as Victor started the car. As they pulled away from the curb, leaving the old playground and its flickering lamppost behind, Isabel reached over and squeezed his hand. Thank you, she whispered, for not giving up on me. The mansion's warm lights glowed like beacons through the falling snow as Victor's car pulled into the driveway. Before he could even put the car in park, the front door burst open. Noah flew down the steps in his pajamas, Grace hurrying after him with his coat. Mommy! Noah's cry pierced the quiet night. Isabel dropped to her knees just in time to catch him as he barreled into her arms. His small body shook with huge gasping sobs as he clung to her neck. Don't go away again, he begged between hiccups. Please don't leave me, Mommy. Please, please. Isabel held him tightly, her own tears falling into his dark curls. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm here now. I won't leave you again. I promise. Victor and Grace exchanged worried glances. Grace stepped forward, draping a thick blanket around both Isabel and Noah. Let's get you both inside where it's warm, Grace said gently. Even as they walked inside, Noah's little fingers stayed twisted in her shirt, afraid she'd disappear. Victor helped guide them to the living room sofa. Grace brought mugs of steaming cocoa with tiny marshmallows. Noah's sobs gradually quieted as he drank his cocoa, though he kept one hand firmly gripped in his mother's sleeve. I was really scared, he admitted in a small voice. I know, sweetheart, Isabel stroked his hair. I made a big mistake. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes too, even mommies. But I learned something very important today. What did you learn? Noah asked. I learned that it's okay to let people help us when we're scared or sick. And that running away from people who love us doesn't make things better. It just makes everyone sad. Victor sat down beside them. That's right. And we're going to help your mom get better, Noah. All of us together. Later that night, after Noah had finally fallen asleep curled against his mother's side, Victor brought a pillow and blanket to the guest room's armchair. You don't have to stay, Isabel whispered. I want to, he replied simply, settling into the chair. Get some rest. I'll be right here. Throughout the night, Victor dozed lightly, waking at every small sound. When Isabel woke once from a bad dream, gasping and disoriented, he was there immediately with water and quiet reassurance. Morning arrived with pale sunlight. Grace appeared with a breakfast tray. While they ate, Victor made phone calls, setting up new medical consultations. By mid-morning, they were sitting in a bright consultation room. The specialist reviewed Isabel's charts, then looked up. The previous treatment plan was too aggressive for your current condition. You're still recovering from months of malnutrition and stress. We need a gentler approach. Build up your strength first. She outlined a modified treatment schedule. Shorter sessions, different medications, more focus on nutrition and rest. This isn't a sprint, the doctor reminded them. It's a marathon. We'll take it one day at a time. As the weeks passed, small changes began appearing. Isabel's appetite improved, helped by Grace's nurturing meals and Victor's insistence that she eat regularly. Color returned to her cheeks. She gained back weight she'd lost. Noah transformed too. With the security of knowing both his parents were there, his natural confidence bloomed. He chatted more at dinner, laughed more freely, stopped checking constantly to make sure his mother hadn't disappeared. Victor restructured his entire work schedule. He took early meetings so he could drive Isabel to treatments, handled conference calls from home. His office gradually accumulated children's drawings and family photos alongside business reports. Grace watched it all with quiet satisfaction. She saw how Victor's face softened when Noah called him daddy, how Isabel's smile grew stronger each day, how their evening routine of stories and snuggles became sacred time. As winter melted into early spring, Isabel completed another round of treatment. This time, her body responded better. Her latest test results showed improvement, bringing cautious optimism from her medical team. One mild March afternoon, they sat together on the mansion's back terrace, watching Noah chase bubbles across the lawn. Early crocuses pushed through the remaining patches of snow. Isabel leaned back in her chair, face tilted toward the strengthening sun. "How are you feeling?" Victor asked. She considered carefully. "Stronger. Like I'm starting to believe in tomorrow again." Grace appeared with lemonade and fresh cookies. Noah ran over to claim his share, climbing into Victor's lap, cookie in hand. The spring breeze carried the scent of thawing earth and new possibilities. Inside Isabel's body, healing continued its steady work. She watched her son sharing his cookie with Victor, their dark heads bent together as they examined a ladybug on the terrace rail. Peace settled deep in her heart. The first warm days of summer brought new strength to Isabel's steps. Where once she'd struggled to climb stairs, she now walked confidently through the gardens, often joining Noah as he played. Her doctors noted steady improvement at each checkup. Her smile grew brighter with every passing week. One sunny afternoon, she sat cross-legged on the living room floor, helping Noah with his science project. Construction paper, glue, and markers spread around them as they built a model of the solar system. "Jupiter needs more spots," Noah declared, reaching for the brown marker. Isabel watched him work, her heart full. Just months ago, she'd barely had energy to stay awake during bedtime stories. Now she could actively participate in his life again. Victor found them there, pausing in the doorway. "That looks impressive," he said, settling down beside them. "Ready for the science fair tomorrow?" "Almost." Noah held up his partially completed project. "Mom's helping me make the rings for Saturn." The simple word "mom" still brought tears to Isabel's eyes sometimes, remembering how close she'd come to leaving him. As Noah returned to his project, Victor touched Isabel's shoulder gently. "Speaking of school events, would you feel up to accompanying me to a charity meeting this afternoon? Just a small planning committee at the community center." Isabel nodded, surprising herself with how naturally the answer came. Even a few months ago, the idea would have terrified her. But her growing strength had brought new confidence. The meeting proved enlightening. Isabel listened as local leaders discussed challenges facing immigrant families and single parents. When asked, she shared some of her own experiences. Her quiet voice carried unexpected authority. That evening, after tucking Noah into bed, Victor found Isabel on the terrace. "You made quite an impression today," he said. "The committee members couldn't stop talking about your insights." Isabel wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly shy. "I just spoke from experience." "Exactly." Victor's voice grew thoughtful. "It made me realize something. We need more voices like yours. People who truly understand the struggles of working parents trying to support families here and abroad." Over the next few weeks, Isabel accompanied Victor to more charity meetings. Each time, her quiet strength and genuine empathy touched hearts and opened minds. She spoke of dignity in the face of hardship, of sacrificing everything for family, of holding on to hope when all seemed lost. Victor watched her transformation with pride and growing determination. One evening, after another successful meeting, he shared his vision. "I want to organize a charity gala," he explained, pacing his office excitedly. "Not just another fancy fundraiser, but something meaningful, focusing on immigrant caregivers and single mothers. Your story, Isabel. Your journey. Isabel's eyes widened. Victor, You don't have to decide right now, he assured her quickly. But think about it. Your experience could help so many others who are struggling like you did. As summer progressed, plans for the gala took shape. Victor threw himself into the details, ensuring every aspect reflected the dignity and resilience he'd witnessed in Isabel. The night of the gala arrived clear and warm. Isabel stood before her mirror, barely recognizing herself in the elegant blue gown Victor had chosen. Grace helped style her hair, now thick and healthy again. You look beautiful, Grace said softly. And strong. Noah, handsome in his little suit, bounced excitedly. Can we go now? Daddy said there's going to be a chocolate fountain. The ballroom sparkled with subtle elegance. Soft lighting. Classical music. Tables decorated with simple wildflowers. Isabel recognized many faces from the charity meetings, along with business leaders and local officials. Victor took the stage as the evening began, commanding attention in his perfectly tailored tuxedo. True strength isn't found in carrying every burden alone. It's found in having the courage to accept help when we need it most. Love doesn't always rescue us from our struggles, but it reminds us that we're worth fighting for. And sometimes the greatest act of love we can offer others is allowing them to love us back. Family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who refuse to give up on us, even when we've given up on ourselves. It's about second chances, healing together, and building a future where no one has to face the darkness alone. Remember, you are not a burden for needing help. You are a blessing for allowing others to show you the love and care you deserve. Thank you for watching until the end. If this story moved you, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another heartwarming tale. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from right now. Are you in the United States? United Kingdom? Nigeria? Philippines? I love hearing from viewers all around the world. And if you know someone who needs to hear a message of hope today, please share this video with them. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.